We've seen Durgacharan Nag Mahashay's great life. He was so absorbed in alleviating the sufferings of people. He neglected his own food and sleep, wasn't charging people anything. Whatever they give was okay. He said, the author says, with untiring patience, he had nursed the disease. Without the least hesitation, he gave away his earnings in charity. How many days he went without his own food? So in 1880, his wife, Sharat Kamini, had come to Calcutta. And now he had his duty towards his wife, his old father, and yet he was busy from morning till late evenings, and then he used to go to the banks of the Ganges to practice meditation and japa. So what happens is, a spiritual life needs this initial groundwork. It's called the purification of the mind. And one has to get into this purification of the mind. And the more the mind is purified, the less it becomes attached to the world. And he starts asking these questions. Why did I come to this world of misery? Should I pass away my life with all these misery and trying to alleviate them? No, I must see God, or else what's the use of life? But what is the way to find him out? Who will show me the way? This is what happens once, when we do karma, if we do it for the Lord draws us to him. And then you start asking about, why is this world? It's not a doubt in God. It is, what is the larger picture of my life and the life of the world? This starts getting more and more intense. That narrow view of my happiness, okay, and I'll see the happiness of others, yeah, that's okay, that's good. But what is the plan of life? So this comes. So his friend, Suresh, he was a Brahmo devotee, and some of the devotees used to congregate and meditate and do japa and sing. So Nag Mahashay used to go along with them and join them, and after his whole days of work, he used to go and practice his spiritual disciplines. And, he, from what you can see, his approach was through bhakti. And that's the easiest, and it's a royal road. Yeah, but we really don't know that it takes you inside out. Because when you are in the formative stages of devotion, bhakti, you do so much of meditation and japa, and you do fasting, or etc. These are you can say, the fixture in all religions. You've got to do certain austerity. You've got to be austere and devote your time and life to the contemplation of God. And that's the formative, you can say, stage. The next stage comes when the momentum of this formative bhakti has risen so fast and high and powerful that it breaks all conventions, personal as well as social conventions also. It is called the higher bhakti, para bhakti, higher bhakti, or ragatmika bhakti. Now, in this, as I say, the person is oblivious of her or his surroundings as well as the body also. What the person in this stage does is focuses on just increasing devotion. And his approach was to bhakti, but it wasn't just let loose bhakti, let go the reins. He had a tight, you can say, hold on this. So though at times he used to lose himself in this singing and dancing devotional songs, he used to say, the more you suppress your spiritual emotions, the stronger they become. And the more these are given vent to, the less they become in intensity. So here we have, Sri Ramakrishna gives an example of an illustration. Suppose an elephant has to step into a small pond. There's a churning and tossing of water and there's a whole commotion. But if that elephant has to step into a deep lake, there's not a ripple. So bhakti has to have a larger receptacle. So the smaller the receptacle is, there's a lot of churning and tossing and turning, and you'll see all these people sitting down and then with those horripilations, the weeping and this and that, just a little spiritual emotion, and they get overwhelmed. The idea is keep that suppressed and then it will grow in intensity. This is what he said. So a monk told him once, however strong your desire for seeing God is, unless you practice your spiritual disciplines according to the instructions of the Guru, or if you got to be initiated, and then you can have God vision. Of course, it's not absolutely true, but it helps. So now Mahashay was fired with this idea that he has to look for a guru, and like a person, maddened, he's looking out for people. At the same time, he knows that the guru will come when the disciple is ready. The mantra will come. So he used to be on the banks of the Ganges late evenings and sometimes half the night. So one day he saw a boat coming in and anchoring on the banks near him. And he saw one of the passengers was a man who was his family guru. I mean, generations of families are initiated by a generation of another family of gurus, It's called a Kula Guru. So his guru, Kailash Chandra Bhattacharya. This was very common in India. Very common. Some great-grandfather was initiated by somebody's great-grandfather who's here now, who is now initiating me. So it's like that. So Mahashay was bathing in the river. He quickly finished his bath and he came out and he was overjoyed. His family guru says, I've come here to initiate you. And he was thrilled, saying, this is the command of the Divine Mother. And it thrilled him even more, saying, was it that all his sincere prayers had reached the ears of the all-merciful Mother of the universe? So he takes his guru to his residence, and his father also was happy because the Guru's family, everyone has to be honored. And the Guru now initiates with a Shakti mantra both Mahashay and his wife. Okay. Now, what Shakti mantras? There are other Rama mantras and Vishnu mantras, and there are hundreds of mantras, plenty. That the scriptures are teeming with mantras, and each is given according to one's inner spiritual characteristics. Now that he was initiated, he spent his time, most of his time, in japa and meditation. He was fasting, and at times his meditation became so deep, he lost body consciousness, that is external consciousness. One time he was meditating, and in the Ganges, there is an ebb and flow tide because of the tides in the sea. So he was sitting and meditating, and then one time a flood tide comes and washes him out where he was sitting. And somehow he came out of meditation and he found himself being dragged, and he came out of the river, and it was some time before he recovered from the shock. The same thing used to happen with Swami Adbhutananda. Of course, the Ganges water never dragged him out, but he was oblivious. The water used to come right up to his chest. He used to be meditating, deeply meditative, and he wasn't aware. He was completely oblivious of the rise and the fall of the water. That is meditation. So, as his spiritual practices began, that in the right earnest, as it was in ascendancy, his medical practices went down. And his father now is saying, "Oh my God, this is a bad sign." And he blamed his friend Suresh, who used to come and they used to have discussions on scriptures and all these things. His father understood there was no want of food or dress or anything like that. But he was worried about his son's future. What if he's going to do something like this? And he's got a wife now to look after. What's going to happen? But the wife, Sharad Kamini, she also was of that same fiber. She wasn't an ordinary kind of housewife. Right? When she saw her husband with that kind of spiritual intensity, her dormant spirituality also was awakened. And she was called Tapaswini, one who is very austere and practices spiritual disciplines. Even much later in life, she was venerated as a saint. Yes. We will see later on how her life unfolded. But right now, she was inspired by her husband's ideal. So after some time, Mahashay, he convinced his father to retire from his job and go back to his village, and which he did. And his wife goes along with him in order to serve him. So as now he was alone in that spiritual mood, they should talk and discuss about scriptures. He tells Suresh one time, "Time is wasted in mere talks. Unless something is perceived directly, there is no use living. This is what is essential in spiritual life. It's called Vyakulata. It comes in the lives of many people. That hankering, that unceasing, you can say, thirst to have a vision, a higher vision comes. Sri Ramakrishna called him Vyakulata. So now Suresh had heard, he used to go to the Brahmo Samaj and he heard about Sri Ramakrishna from Keshav Chandra Sen. He's saying, oh, he got interested. But it was 2 months till he told his friend, Nag Mahashay, that, there's a saint in Dakshineshwar. Why don't we go? And once Nag Mahashay heard about it, he was, you can say, he brooked no delay. So next day, they had an early lunch, very early lunch, and they left. It was April and they kept on walking towards Dakshineshwar. And it was hot. April and May, it's burning season there. We don't have summer, we have burning seasons. And they walked and they somehow, they missed that road which was leading to Dakshineshwar. They overshot the journey, and when on inquiry they found that they had come far away from Dakshineshwar. They reversed their steps and they came and they entered the temple garden. And it was like kind of an oasis there. The grand buildings and the trees and the lawns and all. And Nag Mahashay was thrilled. So they enter the compound and they see one person sitting down and meditating. Longish beard, venerable looking person. So they asked him, what, does the saint of Dakshineshwar live here? Yeah, he stays here. That's his room. But unfortunately, today he is not there. He's gone to Chandan Nagar. Chandan Nagar was a French kind of colony there. And it was a kind of a great disillusionment. They had come all the way in the heat to see, and then, so that person who was sitting was Hazra, Pratap Chandra Hazra. He was that great comical character, and he was a, kind of, there's always a spoiler there, one who is a kind of a jester, a joker type. So he was, and they seen from the door, there's someone beckoning them to come. And then they never bothered about Hazra. They entered and they found Sri Ramakrishna sitting down on a small cot. His legs were stretched. And they understood. This was the saint of Dakshineshwar. Those guys that Hazra was trying to dissuade us from kind of meeting him. So this was his first, you can say, vision. Vision is in the first meeting. Now Suresh was a Brahmas and he did here the casual namaste. That's nice. Nag Mahashay, with all his bhakti and enthusiasm, fell flat on the floor and did his prostration. So Sri Ramakrishna was smiling. They sat on a mat spread for them. And Sri Ramakrishna inquired, where have they come from? Where are they from? In the meantime, Nag Mahashay wanted to offer his obeisance by touching Sri Ramakrishna's feet. And Sri Ramakrishna withdrew his legs from his touch, that is, pulled back. And he was kind of devastated, because if somebody does that, that means you're not good enough. But in many cases, Sri Ramakrishna has done this just to increase the longing for that devotee. So Mahashay kept on staring at him. What are you looking at? I've been thinking about you for so long, and now I'm trying to satisfy myself looking at you. And so Sri Ramakrishna said, why don't you go and meditate in the Panchavati, the 5 groves? They do, both of them, and after half an hour, they come back. And Sri Ramakrishna then takes him on a guided tour of the temple complex. So he takes him, Sri Ramakrishna is walking in front, and he's explaining the various temples. They went to those 12 Shiva temples. Sri Ramakrishna circumambulating every image. Suresh was a little, can say, that Brahmo type, and he just stood there. All the while, Sri Ramakrishna is speaking, and Master Mahashay, Nag Mahashay, was observing his movements and everything. So from that 12 Shiva temples, they come to the Vishnu temple, and then they go to the Divine Mother's temple, and there Sri Ramakrishna becomes completely transformed. The spiritual mood takes over. And he loses all body consciousness, and he behaves just like a child who sees his mother, who has been weeping, and then his mother comes in. And he circumambulates the image just like a child who was deprived of the mother, and suddenly he sees her. And that impressed Nag Mahashay tremendously, saying, because this was not simulation. He could see that there's a spiritual mood that took over him. After this circumambulation and then prostrations, they returned to his room. And he was saying, is he a sage or a saint or a higher being? Because he himself was not a mean kind of small-time devotee. His spiritual insights were growing. And so now he leaves for home, but he is now constantly thinking of Sri Ramakrishna. And this we have also seen, how people, when they used to meet Sri Ramakrishna and they used to leave, they used to feel a kind of a intoxication. It's a kind of a joy, joyous intoxication. And constantly thinking about Sri Ramakrishna. And that made him even more and more introspective. The next week, now, 1 week, they're constantly thinking about Sri Ramakrishna, discussing him, his behavior, his actions and everything. The next week, both the friends, again go and visit Sri Ramakrishna. At this time, Sri Ramakrishna was even better. He spoke very lovingly to him. And then he said, go and meditate there. They both went and meditated in that grove of 5 trees. And then after the meditation, Sri Ramakrishna goes and sits down with them. He tells Nag Mahashay, go and prepare a pipe of tobacco for him. That it's called chilam. It's that a kind of old country-made, not the usual pipe we are used to seeing. It's like more like a kind of a cone. You fill it tobacco in. So here it was, he immediately leaves to prepare that tobacco pipe. And Sri Ramakrishna, he tells his friend Girish, he says, he is verily a blazing fire. So Sri Ramakrishna saw that kind of blazing fire of spirituality within him. And then he came back with that pipe of tobacco, and then Sri Ramakrishna again sent him, get my water pot, get my towel, just to give him the opportunity to serve the Guru. The Guru in the sense, in this case, Sri Ramakrishna as a higher Guru. And this was thrilling to Mahashay. Here it was like, first he had pulled his legs away and he was feeling disconsolate. Now I'm getting a chance to serve him. So this allayed his kind of misgivings. The third time he went, he was alone. And Mahashay went alone. And he Sri Ramakrishna looked at him, see, you're a doctor. Just see, my legs are all right. And Mahashay looks at it, okay, they're okay, fine. Look carefully. And then Mahashay, the doctor's eye now, he starts examining everything there. And immediately he understands that this is how Sri Ramakrishna is letting him touch his sacred feet. And that made him very emotional. He's saying a small act of charity on the part of the Guru makes a true disciple feel his unbounded love towards him. So he began, weeping tears of joy. And then, this is important, then Sri Ramakrishna says, what do you think of me? So, after a few days, of course, Sri Ramakrishna said, what do you think of me? What he says, let's say. I came to know through his grace, that is Sri Ramakrishna, that Sri Ramakrishna was Narayana personified and he was having his Leela in secret at Dakshineshwar. Narayana is the supreme Godhead, the Vishnu. So his spiritual insight showed that he was an avatar. Now this was Mahashay. One time, Sri Ramakrishna was lying down and it was warm and he told Mahashay to fan him. In those days, there was no electricity. Yeah, there were those gas lights and this, but fans had not yet come in. Even today, I think, there's a fan now installed in Sri Ramakrishna's room. After all these years and years and years. Or, I'm not sure. Because I remember sitting in that corner where once Mahashay had sat down the first time. And I was sweating. That was a sweaty meditation. So he kept on fanning with the hand fan, Sri Ramakrishna. And then, he was steadfast in whatever he did. He kept on fanning him. His hands had become heavy. And Sri Ramakrishna was a very light sleeper, just resting. And then Sri Ramakrishna got up, takes a fan from his hand. And he says that Sri Ramakrishna's sleep was not like that ordinary person's. He would always remain awake. It is not possible for an aspirant or even a perfected aspirant to have this kind of thing. Yes, so then again, on another occasion, Sri Ramakrishna asked, what do you think of me? They also say, through thy grace, I have known thou to be God. And Sri Ramakrishna goes into samadhi and places his right foot on his chest. And he's saying, the moment he placed his foot on his chest, Nag Mahashay says, in his own words, light penetrating the animate and the inanimate objects. It was overflowing heaven and the earth. So he had a vision of that universal light. Now, what is the light? That light, it's that consciousness. It had pervaded everything living and non-living. The non-living, as we say, has got a bigger, you can say, deeper meaning in philosophy. But he saw that light of consciousness everywhere. Now, this is amazing. First, he recognizes him as an avatar. He said, you are God. And then Sri Ramakrishna gave him this vision of that universal consciousness. It is extremely rare to have this kind of universal consciousness experienced in the initial stages by even an adept. A person needs to have his mind and his body and his nerves, etc., so highly tuned and so fine and subtle. It's just not possible to get it immediately. But Nag Mahashay got it, saying out of his grace. He also understood that Sri Ramakrishna is that wish-fulfilling tree, the Kalpataru. And so here it was. Now his visits to Sri Ramakrishna became frequent. One time, it was the first time he saw Swami Vivekananda. So, Swami Vivekananda was a carefree, you can say, youth. But when he entered Sri Ramakrishna's room, he was chanting Shivoham, Shivoham. You know that the famous hymn called Nirvana Ashtakam, the 8 stanzas on Nirvana. That I am Shiva, I am Shiva. So, Sri Ramakrishna, he used to like to put these devotees of opposite temperaments to argue. And he used to watch the fun. He used to kind of be a kind of referee at that. Sri Ramakrishna pointed to Nag Mahashay and told Swami Vivekananda that he was Naren. He is really egoless, he says. He does not feign it. That is, there is no simulation. Swamiji replied, yes, when you say so, it cannot be otherwise. Now the two disciples began a conversation. Nag Mahashay. Now he says, and it's like that, Girish Ghosh once gave an example of these two devotees. When Mahamaya, the great Maya, the divine Maya, wanted to bind Nag Mahashay, she came with a rope and she bound him, and he became smaller. And he contracted his body. And then she tied the knot even tighter, put some more, and he became smaller and smaller and smaller, and she could not tie him. He could not bind him. They let go. How small can you become? Yeah, that's it. And when she went to bind Swami Vivekananda, she tied him, and then before she could tie the knot, he grew larger. Then she was short of rope. She got some more rope and she tried to tie him again. And again he expanded and kept on expanding. And she goes, okay, I cannot bind this. So Swamiji expanded himself. That is one view of Vedanta. Yeah, keep on expanding yourself. The other view of Vedanta also, keep on contracting yourself, and you will escape the bonds of Maya. So these were the two types of aspirants. So Nag Mahashay said, everything happens at the will of the mother. She is a universal will itself. She does her work, but people think that they do it themselves because of the sense of agency, the I. So Swamiji said, I don't accept what you say. This he or she, I don't accept it. I am the Atman. In me is the universe. In me it rises, floats and dissolves. Now this was Swamiji. Like his consciousness was so far expanded. He's saying, the universe rises in me, floats and dissolves. Mahashay, you have not power enough to change one black hair into white. What to say of the universe? Without the will of God, not a blade of grass moves. So Swamiji is retorting. Without my will, the sun and the moon cannot move. At my will, the universe goes on like a machine. And Sri Ramakrishna, listen to both. They are diametrically opposite in the approach to the divine. Sri Ramakrishna, then he pointed Naren, Swami Vivekananda, to Mahashay and says, well, Naren can say so. He is like a sword unsheathed. It is not presumptuous on his part to say so. No, he can say it. And he was that type. Hearing this from Sri Ramakrishna, Mahashay bowed down to Swamiji and remained silent. Then, here he gets the idea that this young man was not the ordinary young man that we know him or know of, or like any other young man. He says that he was Shiva himself, who has incarnated for the Leela of Ramakrishna. Here, even at the end of Swamiji's life, when Mahashay had gone to Belur Math, so Swamiji is making fun, is saying, now today you tell us about the master, and saying, what can I tell you? I cannot tell you anything. No, you tell the young boys who have assembled here, the young monks. And he kept on, so what do I know? I don't know anything. I see you are verily Shiva. And so he never stopped seeing Swamiji as Shiva. So here when he says that Naren, that Swami Vivekananda, was no human being, that he was Shiva who incarnated himself for the Leela of Sri Ramakrishna. Much later on, he was like, what are your ideas of Sri Ramakrishna? He's saying, I have seen Sri Ramakrishna. They asked the ordinary question, have you seen a person who has attained the state of liberation? He's saying, I have seen Sri Ramakrishna, who is a liberator of souls. And I have also seen his foremost disciple, Swami Vivekananda, who was the incarnation of Shiva. He, is very kind of, we will see how some of the disciples had an inkling of his real nature much later on. And Mahashay, at this early stage of his spiritual life, his spiritual insight was perfect. He saw Sri Ramakrishna as a God incarnate, and he saw Vivekananda as another incarnation of Shiva. And they have both come for this time, both together for their play. And so this, we stop here for today. I mean, it gets deeper and deeper as we go, you can see. You can see how this great householder disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who had reached the very crest of spirituality in such a short time, just because of his intense devotion, his purification of the heart through his selfless work, when one serves the sick and the deprived and the needy and the homeless, one's heart becomes large, it expands. One does not think of oneself just as me and mine anymore. The other person who you serve has become more important than you. Later on, we will see how completely egoless he was. Swamiji used to say of such people, they don't make a stir, but they only melt down in love. That was Nag Mahashay. Okay. We'll take the third part next Friday. We also have Christmas Eve celebration. In our order, we celebrate the Christmas Eve. That's because of a very significant event that took place on Christmas Eve amongst the monastic disciples. So come for the talk. And so Sunday morning, there won't be a talk at the usual 10 o'clock. We'll have a talk at 7. It'll start with carols, the worship of Christ, a small puja, and then we have a reading, and then we have a talk from 5 to 7. And we'll have, of course, the prasad, the offered food. So all are welcome. And on the 1st of January, which we all know is a very auspicious day for us all also, not being just the first day of the year, but it is the day when Sri Ramakrishna became the wish-fulfilling tree, the Kalpataru. And he blessed all the devotees who were present there at Kashipur. So he blessed them. It was around 3:30 or 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon. So we are going to have a vigil from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So go out there, and if you're interested, you can register yourself, sign up. We have a sign up sheet also there on the email. And each devotee will meditate or do japa for 1 hour. So we'll have a, you can say, continuous stream of devotees. We want to appeal to all the initiated devotees, especially those who have been initiated, to come and do japa and meditate. It will be a quiet vigil. There will be no talking. Just come in the shrine, sit down and do japa. Okay. That much for the announcements. So if you have any questions, how did Nag Mahashay see Holy Mother? Oh, we'll come down to that. That is another. He used to get into a huge spiritual mood. He was oblivious. And one time he was stopped from seeing the mother. And what he did was, at the foot of the staircase, he kept on slamming his forehead on the stairs. And he was so oblivious. Mother, she said, bring him up here. And he was not conscious of the world, not conscious of the body. And she brought him and made him sit, and she herself fed with her own hands this Nag Mahashay. Oh, what did he see? Yeah, the Divine Mother. That's what he saw. And very strange. Mother had given him the food, prasad, on a leaf plate. That's the usual, in those days, the leaf plates. He could not eat also. And, At times he used to eat the food and also eat the leaf plate. See, that is also sacramental. It's been touched by Holy Mother or Sri Ramakrishna. He was like that. And he used to, tears used to flow, tears of joy, of course, used to flow. And he used to get blinded by those tears, and he had to be led to Mother very gradually. So he was Mother's favorite child. One of them. Everybody a favorite. Yeah. Okay. We stop here for today. Do we have any questions here? Okay.
I'm curious, when he had spoken about Vivekananda being Shiva, did Ramakrishna ever comment on that? And how does that align with the Ramakrishna story where he talked about the rishis and that little piece coming down?
Yeah, the question is whether Sri Ramakrishna himself saw Swami Vivekananda as an incarnation of Shiva. So anybody criticizing Swamiji, he used to say, throw Ganges water here, purify this place. Shiva has been, they say Shivaninda, has been criticized. Shiva has been criticized. And when Swami Vivekananda was born, Sri Ramakrishna was a streak of light emerging from Benares. And Benares is the city of Shiva, and descending in Calcutta. And he is saying, my man has come. My man has arrived. So, oh my God. So, it was Sri Ramakrishna's grace that he got this insight into even Swamiji. Oh, there are many instances. I will keep on going on and on. But Sri Ramakrishna knew. Come for my work. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.